Hey guys, Patrick from BSquared here. Today we're going to be doing a track guide for Shannonville Motorsports Park. We're going to be reviewing some footage from my 2020 Ontario Time Attack season where we drove long course. We'll be driving my Subaru BRZ. So for turn one, I'm just trying to be as stable as possible. What you want to do is get close to this curb, but you don't want to hop on top of it because as you can see, it's pretty tall. Also, you want to be stable with your steering and your throttle so that you don't unsettle the car, which in this corner, because it's so fast, you really don't want to do that because the wall is like awfully close to the track surface. So when you hop on the throttle, make sure it's like one smooth motion. Like as for me, I was kind of like pedaling it a little bit, but what you don't want to do is like do like drastic pedals, like from 30 to 100 and back down to 30. You really just don't want to upset the car in this corner because you can lose the rear end going really fast. Turn two, I'm using some of these, like, I don't know if you can see that white line on the ground. I'm basically using those as a braking reference, but I'm not sure which one I use. Turn two, I'm sort of apexing where the curb here became most acute. So the car ends up tracking pretty tight to this curb. Maybe I could have opened it up a little bit more, carried more speed. So if you go back, yeah, I'm just showing you the curb here is most acute at this point. So it seems like a good place to apex, but maybe don't hold the steering as tight as I did. Track out to the left side, and as you can see, my steering wheel didn't really change angle from turn two. Like, it's still turned. The trajectory of the car currently is going to hug the turn three curbing pretty tight. What you could try is actually opening up the steering wheel a little bit so your path is like this. A little bit wider. You still end up apexing the corner, but you might just carry more speed than I am here. So something to try. I'm not exactly sure which is the right way. Exiting turn three, so I'm not tracking out all the way to the curb here. If the track were divided into thirds, the center of the car would be about a third of the way. The reason for that is I don't want to have to steer so much to get to the other side on the right here to prepare for turn four. Turn four, I'm trying to turn in at this like white patch. I'm going to hop on top of the curb, but a mistake I'm making here is that I don't track out all the way to the right side here. As you can see, there's like a huge ditch here beside the curb, so I think it's a fear thing. So I think I just got scared and I didn't track out as much as I should have. I would have probably carried more speed if the car was like positioned here instead. On this apex, this curb is tall, don't touch it. You also want to get on throttle pretty early here because the following corners, as you can see, it's like a wide curve, so there's a lot of speed you can carry. So if you start throttle early, you'll just carry more speed. In my case, I was kind of a coward and I didn't get on full throttle until way past corner exit. Going into turn five, this is sort of like a bravery corner. I'm coming off my throttle to get the car rotated, but that took a lot of courage in the morning where like I was first braking. So you might have to work up to just coming off the throttle. If you're in an FRS, I've heard some people actually being flat here. So if your line is right, you could probably do it, but I haven't been able to do that yet. Going into turn six, it seems to have two apexes, so you could treat it as a double apex. Maybe I should try that next time. I think I apexed early here in my opinion. The steering wheel is turned while I'm going over this curb and going over this pavement change, and they're actually pretty slippery surfaces. So you'll actually see the car lose control, like that. What I could have done better is apex later. In my case, there was no point where the wheel was straight. I went from turning left to turning right without any break in between. So if I'd apex later, I would have like a straight section here where I could actually start braking and preparing for the next corner. As you can see, I actually missed the apex because I didn't have enough brakes. Entering turn 9, you don't have to brake a lot here. Just the active steering will slow down the car enough. I'm using the most acute point of this curb as my apex point, and I'm actually hugging the right side on exit instead of tracking out all the way to the left. I'm staying on the right so I have a better line following the next corner, and it's advantageous because there's this really good patch of pavement here and you can carry a lot of speed. So if your line is right, you can have one smooth steering motion like I did and carry a lot of speed. Going into turn 10, It's a very important corner because it leads on to the longest straight on the track. You want to be stable here on exit. As you can see, I lose the rear end, which definitely hurts my top speed entering the fast right-hander coming up. The following corner is definitely a bravery corner, and I think the safest way to take it is brake in a straight line and get on throttle somewhere around the apex and commit to it. So if you lift at some point or if you lose confidence, you will spin out, which I have in the past. When I track out, I try to get my left wheels on top of this curb, but I'm being careful of the ditch right ahead. Entering the chicane here, as you can see, I turned in too early, and then I tried to compensate for my line by adding more steering, which made me just understeer toward this curb. So you'll watch here, understeering toward the curb, which is very dangerous because this curb is massive. You don't want to touch this curb at all. It's a very dangerous curb. Down to the second last corner of the track. Be careful, the road is quite bumpy around here. So just make sure your braking is stable and you don't understeer like a lot of some people have over here. I think I could have apexed a little bit later so that I would be on the left side of the track approaching the last corner. I actually end up on the right side of the track, and I held the corner really tight, and as you can see, the steering wheel is turned quite a bit. So maybe if I'd apexed the previous corner just a little bit later, and the car, instead of being pointed in this direction on the track, it would be pointed in this direction, coming from the left-hand side. I think that would have been a better way to get on throttle sooner, just so I can have more speed going on to the front straight here. And that's it. That's a 204.748 at Shannonville Motorsports Park.